If you've ever seen a student go from calm to chaos in seconds, it can feel confusing and sometimes frustrating. But what looks like defiance is often something deeper, a brain that's trying to stay safe. So, in this video today, we're going to look at what's really happening inside a child's brain when they lose control. And I'm going to share some strategies at the end to help you support your students when their emotions might take over. So, inside everyone's brain, there's a system that helps them notice feelings, understand what they mean, and helps us respond in healthy ways. So, this is called the emotional intelligence brain, and it involves several key areas that work together. And when stress hits, they don't always stay in sync. So, let's start out with the amygdala. This is our alarm system. And the amygdala's job is to help us stay safe. It reacts fast in less than a second, so, whenever something feels threatening or overwhelming, that's the alarm that triggers fight, flight, or freeze. Then we have the hippocampus, and this is the memory keeper. The hippocampus sits right next to the amygdala, and it remembers what happened before and connects those memories to what's happening right now. But during chronic stress, it can quiet down, making it harder to recall calming strategies you may have learned. Then we have the prefrontal cortex. This is the thinking brain. And this is the problem solving part of the brain. It helps with focus, decision making, and impulse control. But when the amygdala alarm goes off, the prefrontal cortex goes offline, which means reasoning and redirection won't really work until the child feels safe again. And then we have the insula. This is the body's emotion reader. The insula helps students recognize what their body is feeling, maybe a racing heart, tight shoulders, or relaxed breathing. This body awareness helps to build emotional intelligence because it connects sensations to emotions. So, together, this is just the basics of emotion intelligence, but these parts help students regulate emotions, connect with others, and learn effectively. And when stress overwhelms one part of the system, we could see behavior changes. So, let's focus on the amygdala. It's small, but it sure is mighty. It's always scanning for danger, not just physical danger, but emotional danger too. That might mean a harsh tone, a difficult task, or a feeling of embarrassment. When something feels unsafe, the amygdala signals the body to act. Heart rate rises, muscles tighten, and the brain prepares for fight, flight, or freeze. And in that moment, well, like we spoke about before, that thinking brain shuts down temporarily. This is why students who are upset can't really reason, follow directions, or reflect until they've calmed down. So their nervous system's reacting to protect them. Once the body feels safe again, the prefrontal cortex reconnects with the amygdala, and that's when self regulation becomes possible, when the student can use strategies, think through consequences, and communicate again. Teaching students how to recognize these signals helps strengthen the bridge between the alarm brain and the thinking brain, and that's sort of the foundation of emotional regulation. So let's review again what's going on inside the body step by step when the amygdala takes over. So we have step one, the alarm sounds. This is going to happen within 1 second, under a second. The amygdala fires immediately. The brain reacts before the student sometimes is even aware of the trigger. Then we have step two, the stress response. This can last anywhere from 1 to 3 seconds. The body releases adrenaline, heart rate and breathing speed up, muscles tighten, and digestion slows. So that starts, 1 to 3 seconds after we get that trigger. Then we have the hormonal surge. This is going to last 20 seconds to 5 minutes or more. If the stress continues, cortisol is released, and it keeps the body ready for action but makes thinking and memory harder. Then we're going to move on, and that thinking brain just goes offline. This could last up to 10 minutes or longer. As cortisol rises, the prefrontal cortex temporarily shuts down. And the student literally cannot process directions until they feel safe again. Then we're going to move into step five, where we have a calming and recovery phase. This could again last 10 minutes, an hour. Once safety is restored, the body shifts back into calm. Now your breathing might slow down, your heart rate will drop, and the thinking brain comes back online. So when students understand what's happening in their brains, they start to build some emotional intelligence, and this is the ability to notice, name, and manage their emotions. This is important for adults too. It's not just about children. So we learn that strong feelings aren't bad. They're messages from the brain saying, I need support. And as teachers, And related service providers and parents, when we use language like alarm brain and thinking brain, we normalize those moments instead of labeling them as misbehavior. That shared understanding helps students stay curious about their emotions rather than ashamed of them. So, let's talk about some ways that can help your students reconnect their thinking brain and calm their alarm brain. Using short brain based lessons to teach how emotions affect learning, like we talked about, teaching them this information explicitly, teaching about emotional intelligence. It's very helpful if you can keep routines predictable and prepare students ahead for schedule changes. You know, I'm going to say it, offer movement or sensory breaks to release built up energy and to help with that sensory input. We're going to try to use calm, steady tones. Fewer words are always helpful and at a slower pace. You want to model emotional regulation yourself. So maybe when you're using a strategy, you might describe that to your students in the moment. If you can create safe spaces for students to pause and reset, here's where we're talking about maybe a calming corner in a classroom or a therapy room. Um, Focus on reinforcing effort and progress rather than perfection, and be specific when you give that feedback, that positive feedback. When the classroom feels safe and predictable, that helps the amygdala to stay quiet, and then the prefrontal cortex can do its best work. So, to help you teach these concepts, you can head on over to your therapy source. There's a free printable called My Calm Brain Plan, and it will help students identify strategies that keep their alarm brain calm and tools they can use to recover when emotions do take over. As we know, that's going to happen, that's normal. So when you check out that free printable, you're going to find some strategies, things, like maybe deep breathing before a big test, using calm music before bed, taking short breaks when they're feeling overwhelmed so they sort of stay ahead of it, using kind self talk to themselves, maybe to solve problems, writing or drawing their feelings down, and that can help them release some tension that they might have. So again, kids will help decide what their own preferences are to help them, and they can add those strategies to their self regulation toolkit. So you can check out that link and learn more about what we talked today about what's happening inside our brains when we talk about emotional intelligence and how we can respond with empathy through co-regulation instead of us getting really frustrated. Because when that alarm brain rests, the thinking brain does its best. And that's when real learning happens. So grab your free printable at your therapy source and don't forget to like and follow. See you next time.